Ready? Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here, and thank you to the Corona Animal Shelter for hosting us this morning. I'm also joined today by a VIP, a very important pet. Her name is Zoe, and I rescued her from a shelter, and she's the best husky in the world. She will be available to take questions after the press conference as well. Look, we're here today because our animal shelters in California are facing a crisis. They're overcrowded, underfunded, and understaffed. Every adoptable pet deserves the chance to find a loving home. Unfortunately, far too often, perfectly healthy, loving animals are euthanized before they have a chance to be adopted. The animals that are euthanized are the victims of this overcrowding crisis. In November of last year, a puppy named Bowie was wrongfully euthanized without notice at a Los Angeles County animal shelter, despite a rescue informing the shelter that they would take him. What happened to Bowie was wrong, and there's no excuse for it, and it's completely preventable. And the bill I am introducing today would have saved Bowie's life. My bill, which I'm calling Bowie's Law, Assembly Bill 595, will require 72-hour notice to the public before an adoptable animal can be euthanized. Some shelters give notice, some give little notice, and some give no notice. Bowie's Law will end this inconsistent practice. This bill will require shelters to publish the exact date the animal is scheduled to be put down, ensuring the public has the opportunity to step in and save the animal's life. Shelters need the help of the public, but in order for the public to help, they have to be meaningfully informed. Many shelters already post animal information on their website, and some publish a red list which highlights pets that will be put down soon if not adopted. This bill will make that practice required at all California animal shelters. Shelters cannot tackle this issue on their own. We are calling for the public's help and partnership with animal shelters. We need the public to step up and consider adopting or fostering a pet if they can. Look, we don't want to just focus on the problem. We want solutions. My law, Bowie's Law, will also commission a statewide study to get exact data on our overcrowding issues at shelters and address it, and look at the feasibility of a statewide website database to empower the public to adopt these pets. We have a spay and neutering crisis in California. We don't have enough veterinarians to control the ever-growing population. And this study will look at ways and how we can solve these problems overall. In many ways, we can look to the Corona Animal Shelter, which I'm standing before today, as a model. This is a gold standard for animal shelters. They're a no-kill shelter, and they do everything they can to find loving homes for every adoptable pet. Our goal is to make every shelter in the state a no-kill shelter like the Corona Animal Shelter. And the state study that will be commissioned will build the foundation for this mission. We understand it's a complex issue and it's going to take multiple strategies and partnerships, but Bowie's Law is a critical first step, and I think Zoe agrees. I'm pleased now to introduce a key partner on this issue and should be an inspiration to us all. Shoshi Gamaliel is the founder and president of Underdog Heroes Rescue. She is the person who tried to rescue Bowie before he was euthanized. Thank you for everything you do for our animal community, and thank you for joining us. Please welcome Shoshi.
Good morning. Thank you, Assemblyman Bill Essayli. for inviting me to be here and speak on behalf of animal rescues and advocates throughout California in support of Bowie's Law, Assembly Bill 595 by Assemblyman Bill Essayli. My name is Shoshi Gamliel. I am the founder and president of Underdog Heroes Rescue. We have a broad reach and serve the communities of Riverside, Inland Empire, Los Angeles, and San Diego. Our goal is to solve the needless euthanasia of dogs by encouraging responsible pet ownership, education, and the safe haven provided by our organization. I have devoted my life to fighting for these innocent souls. We speak up for those who can't speak for themselves, and I am beyond thankful that we are finally being heard. Many people would overlook strays, shelter dogs, abused and neglected animals. Due to societal bias, they are viewed as damaged, wild, or unpredictable. This misconception lessens their survival rate and adoptability, all because so many of us have been sadly misinformed. We are here to grant them a fair chance to have a better life. The underdogs are the heroes, not us. They have endured and survived things we can't even imagine and still find it in their hearts to love and trust again. Dogs are not disposable. They are not garbage. They are living, breathing, intelligent beings who, if given the opportunity, can change our lives far more than we can ever change theirs. You don't have to be an animal lover or own any pets to have empathy and compassion for their livelihood. It truly takes a village of tireless volunteers, rescue networkers, shelter collaboration, fosters, adopters, donors to save these precious souls. Part of the reason I'm here today is because of the tragedy that recently occurred at Baldwin Park Animal Shelter in Los Angeles County. A puppy named Bowie needed a home. An Underdog Hero sent a written commitment to rescue him. However, when we followed up to arrange a time to pick him up, we were told that he had been euthanized due to fearful behavior, along with multiple other dogs. We were shocked and our hearts were broken. This was outrageous, unnecessary, and sadly happens far too often. After being interviewed by several news stations, the county claimed it was accidental, even though we have reason to believe otherwise. This is why I was so pleased to get a call from Assemblyman Bill Essayli and hear that one of the very first bills he would be working on would be to prevent this kind of tragedy from ever happening again. This truly restores my faith in humanity to know that there are compassionate humans who are determined to use their authoritative position to make a positive impact. AB 595 will legally require 72-hour public notice before a pet can be euthanized. This will give members of the public, potential adopters, and rescues like myself, at minimum, a small window to step in and save an animal's life if possible. With this legislation, to accomplish not only the prevention of 72-hour public notice, but also to enforce this by holding animal control and shelter employees fully accountable for their actions should they fail to follow simple protocol. We're tired of being told there is an internal investigation for every time government employees decide to neglect their professional and moral responsibilities, only to see that upon completion of their investigations, nothing has changed, nobody is held accountable, and we're right back at square one. We understand crowding issues and the spay and neuter crisis we're facing. We understand there may never be a world where there is absolutely 0% euthanasia, but to put an animal down should always be a last resort and only as an act of compassion after every effort and resource has been exhausted to get them out alive. I know firsthand there's a lot of unnecessary euthanizing we can prevent, and AB 595 is a critical step towards solving this problem. I look forward to offering my support on the legislation and partnering with our stakeholders, such as Corona Animal Shelter. There's no magic wand to find every animal in need a loving home, but by working together, we can make a real impact. Thank you again, Assemblyman Bill Essayli, for authoring Bowie's Law, AB 595, and thank you to the Corona Animal Shelter for all the work you do as well.
And thank you all again for look at a time when Americans are so divided. I think this is a cause we can all unite behind. So let's get it done. Let's pass Bowie's Law and let's make it law in California. Thank you all.
Oh my god.
Thank you.
No, thank you. This is
Yeah, questions. We can do interviews, whatever you'd like. Yeah.
Can you tell us more about this and step up to the mic, please? The situation with Bowie, did you ever get to see him in person? How did you determine that was the animal you wanted to rescue? Who did you contact? Just kind of walk me through the story.
so since COVID-19 broke out, basically the way we've been required to do things is we show up to the shelter and meet dogs, which is how we used to do it. Now we have to see them online, and if we're lucky, we'll get a video or something from a volunteer who goes into film. But the problem with that is that there are not a lot of shelters allowing people in to actually, because social media is everything right now. So there was a very heartbreaking video of him on social media. He was cowering, but he was also curious, and he was, being a typical scared puppy, no aggression, nothing. And somebody reached out to us and they wanted to adopt him, but we don't just like pull a dog out of the shelter and adopt him out, because we need to make sure that it's a good home and all that. So when I saw the video, I was like, you know what, let's just get him, because he'll have a line of adopters. I mean, this is a terrier puppy. Like, there's no way he's not going to get adopted. So we were like, let's just pull him and go from there. So now we're required to send an email. Like, if we call the shelter, first of all, there's no way to call them directly. It's a whole thing that you have to go through. But if we call them and try to place a commitment on a dog like we used to, they won't record it unless it's actually written through email. So we sent the email, and of course we didn't hear anything back, because there's nobody to be found, and nobody to talk to. And when we followed up, because of course we know that he's urgent and that this shelter was on a killing spree, and we followed up and we were told that he had been killed along with a bunch of other dogs.
Did they ever get the email? Did you ever get an explanation?
I mean, when the system is so limited to a point where A, they're barely open to the public, B, they're not letting people in, they're understaffed. I'm sorry, but somebody should be sitting at that desk waiting for the emails from rescues, or spamming rescues with dogs and notifying us, what's going on. So did they get the email? Probably not, because, I don't think anybody was really there doing their job, to be honest, but they should have been,
But you know for sure that you sent it to the right address.
We did send it. We actually have there's a document from the shelter that states the time of death, and when they basically declared him ready to be put to sleep, and then we have a timestamp on our email. So our email was sent out before he was put to sleep. It was, I think, a couple hours before, but like I said, if a dog is super urgent and on the red list and already being dragged to the kill room, you should be waiting and trying and exhausting every option, to try to get this dog out so that he doesn't have to die. And again, this is a 3-month-old puppy. Like, he would have gotten out.
Yeah, and I think our message is this really has to be a partnership. I mean, the shelters are there to serve the public, right? They are public agencies in most cases, but the shelters can't adopt them on their own, and that's why they have to work with rescues and the public to get the dogs adopted or fostered. And if they're not communicating with the public, that's a big problem. And so the rescues here are going out of their way to do that. The shelters have a responsibility to communicate back and to act not just for us, but for the dogs' lives as well.
And this also was not the first case. This has happened to us several times. It just happened to take, this special puppy to wake people up, and I don't know if it was the video that went viral of him in the shelter, whatever it is, something about Bowie hit people, a lot harder than every other time this has happened. And we've actually been on the other end several times, sending an email, and then it's like, oh, well, this dog isn't here. Would you be interested in another? And it's like, it's a gut punch, anytime, not just with Bowie, with every dog. No dog deserves to die.
And then a question for the assessment. Has there been any analysis done on, I mean, this is going to be a little bit more work for some of these shelters.
Yeah.
And at the
Yes.
So is there any way, as part of this, are there any plans to increase funding?
So that's the second part of this bill is calling for a statewide study that would be funded by the state to look at all the underlying issues and some permanent solutions. My response to shelters who say they don't have the time or money to post 72 hours before an animal is put down, I would say it takes more time and energy to kill a dog than it does to post on a website. So I just think this is a bare minimum the shelters can do. Again, calling for the public's help to come and adopt them. That's a way better use of resources and time than euthanizing the dogs.
If this study recommends that shelters get more funding, are you in favor of that?
Oh, of course. I mean, we want to look at that. One of the issues we've heard is there are not enough vets to do all the spays and neuters. We only have 2 veterinary schools in the entire state. So maybe we need more veterinary schools. Maybe we need to encourage more people to become vets. There are deep underlying issues. I don't have all the data and the answers today. That's why this bill is a critical first step. And we want the study to happen quickly so we can get the data and the solutions and then act to make that happen. But again, today's a first step. We just want to create the safe harbor. Let's let the public know 72 hours before you need to put a dog down and give them the chance to help you. This isn't an attack on shelters. We want to create this public-private partnership, and this is just to open up the communication between the shelters and the public.
So they'll have to post online, this is the dog, this is a picture of the dog, and this is the date that we plan to put said animal down.
Correct.
72 hours.
And if they don't do it, it would be a criminal violation. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you all for your time.